Hey, welcome back. So this is the project that we are going to be building today. So this is a very simple web application that allows you to count a number of words inside of a bit of text, and then you can tell to your client how much the translation is going to cost. So I'm gonna just give you an example. So if I just copy and paste two words and I click this calculate button, it detected there's two words, and because my pricing, which is 10 cents per word, it means the translation is going to cost 20 cents. Of course, I can click this button to reset the project and I can type something. Instead of pasting, I can say the JavaScript way channel teaches you JS, and I can click calculate, detected 7 words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words, and this translation will cost 70 cents. But if I want to remove these words, and if I press this button again, it's gonna recalculate. As you can see, it's working. Of course, the project is fully responsive, and this is super cool. So this is what we are going to be building today. So just keep watching, subscribe to the channel, and if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to leave me a thumbs up. Alright, so let's create this Tailwind CSS project from zero. So I'm using the terminal and I want to navigate to my documents folder. Okay. Now I'm gonna list whatever it's inside this documents folder, and I can see that I have a YouTube GitHub tuts, which means tutorials folder. So actually I want to cd into that folder, and inside this folder I want to create a new folder. So I'm gonna call this folder translations calculator, whatever. Boom. And now I do want to cd into this translations calculator folder. Okay, and I want to open this using Visual Studio Code. So code dot press enter, and it opens a new Visual Studio Code for me, where I have this folder open. Okay, inside this folder is where we need to set up our Tailwind CSS project. Cool, now it's time to set up our Tailwind CSS project and push the code into GitHub. So let's do that. So the first thing that I want to do is to open my terminal, of course, and type npm init like this. This is going to create a package.json file, skipping all of the questions. Okay, so, and we have it right here. Cool. So now we need to start installing Tailwind CSS. So I'm gonna type this command right here. This is gonna create the node modules folder and the package lock.json file for us. Okay, node modules and this file. Do not mess with this folder and this file. Just focus on this one when necessary. Okay, cool. Next, we need to run another command in order to create the Tailwind config file. Okay, and we have the Tailwind config file. So now we can actually update this file by updating this bit right here. Okay, now it's time for us to create a CSS file where we will paste the Tailwind rules, and for that we need to create a source folder. So I'm gonna go inside my root level, create a folder called src. Inside that I'm gonna create a folder called input.css, and I'm gonna copy and paste those rules in. Okay, cool, done. now we need to actually start the Tailwind to build a process and create a dist folder for us. For that, we need to run a very long command, which is this one right here. And this creates the dist folder with the output CSS. Notice that inside source CSS you have the input, inside dist you have the output. Okay. So now we need to create HTML file. So I'm going to go inside the source. Inside the source, I'm going to create index.html, boom, and paste the Tailwind CSS boilerplate. I'm using what they have in the official documentation example. And now it's time to see if this is working. So I'm going to actually stop and then restart the live server. So it creates a new, so it opens a new page for me. And this is what we have. So let's see if the Tailwind CSS classes are working. We can change this to 8 and we can say text blue 500. Save, and this is working great. But the problem is, if I now drop my server for whatever reason, so I'm gonna do it manually, and then if I change this to green, doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work because the server is not running, so Tailwind is not watching to our changes in the code. Okay, so you can restart the server by again copy pasting the same command. See, watch, and now boom, it's working, and I can change it in here, make it a bit smaller. It's working. But you do not want to paste the long command every time you need to. This is the command that you do not want to paste every time you want to restart the server or start the server. So what you can do is to create a script in here, and you can go here and you can name this script whatever you want. I'm gonna name it dev, and you can actually paste inside a string, of course. You can paste this command. Now, if I just stop the server, it's not working. I'm gonna change again back to red, whatever. It's not working, but now all I have to do is to type npm run dev, because this is the script's name, dev, npm run dev, and this is gonna restart the server for me, and then all I have to do is wait a bit, and this is working. Okay, and now I can change this to pink, whatever. Pink, it doesn't work, pink doesn't work, and I refresh and it works. Cool. So this is working, but there's another thing that I want to change because I don't like, which is the file name. I don't like this output file, so I'm going to change this to styles. I'm also going to change that the output, not the input, the output, I'm going to rename it to styles. And I need to go inside the package.json, and the output needs to be renamed to styles. Okay, cool. Now we need to restart the server, and then npm run dev, and this should be all working. And now I'm gonna say green again, and it's working. Cool. So our project is all good. It's up and running. So now it's time for us to really build the calculator. Okay. Before we move on, it's time for us to push this code into GitHub, so you can check it by yourself and play with the code. So let's do that right away. So I'm gonna click here. I'm gonna start clicking this button, push to GitHub, and I want this to be a public repository. And I'm gonna select everything. I'm gonna say OK, and then I'm gonna just wait. So looks like we have published it to GitHub. Let's refresh the page. And we have something right here. And as you can see, this is the code that we have so far. So translations calculator. So if we go to my profile and check my repositories, I have two public ones, and this is the one that we are working on. Cool, amazing. And if my project setup was too fast for you and you want to understand better all the details, I have a specific playlist dedicated to Tailwind CSS, and if you check that playlist, you can see this video right here. And in this video, I explain you with full detail how to set up your project from zero. Okay, I explain you every single bit. Okay, so if you were confused with the project setup, just check this video and you will learn from it. And I will be linking this video in the video's description. Cool, let's continue then. So let's just review our final project really quickly. Okay, so first thing, we have this image, and when the page loads or reloads, there's a delay, then there's this little animation going on. So we need to add that image inside the images folder that we do not have. And this project, when it comes to calculating the cost and the number of words and all of that, we are dealing with some basic DOM manipulation, and we will have to create our own custom JavaScript functions to perform all of that logic. So that means we need to also add more stuff in our project setup. So I'm gonna basically push this here. And the first thing that I'm gonna do is to create an images folder inside the root level of our project. Okay. And inside that, I'm just gonna basically paste the calculator image that we are going to need. Cool. That is out of the way. The next thing is we need to write some custom JavaScript, and we need to have that file somewhere. So I'm going to put that file inside the source folder, and I'm going to call it main.js. Okay. So we need these two things in order to move on with our project. Okay, cool. So now let's focus again inside the markup file. Okay, so this is what I want. I'm gonna actually remove this, we don't need it. So this is what we have, and this is our markup file, and we now need to basically add all of the markup inside here, and we of course will be adding the Tailwind CSS classes inside this file. That's what we are going to be doing. Right, let's finally work inside our markup file. So I'm going to be organizing this a bit. So I'm actually going to be copy pasting a tiny bit of, in this case, just a comment, so you know what's going on. And I'm going to also copy paste some code inside the head. Okay. And I want to put it like this, and we can actually make this bit bigger for now, and I can still view word drop. Okay, animations, I'm gonna format my document, cool, and I'm gonna add a title because we are missing a title. So I'm gonna also copy paste that. That's not so important. Okay, hold on. Cool. We are back to business, and we now can see the title here. Cool. So let's continue. So what do we need? So we need to style our body, and so we do not forget, we must include our custom JavaScript file inside the body. So we need to link this file right here. So I'm just gonna right here, I'm gonna add a script, and the source for this one is going to be main.js. Cool. So I'm gonna get rid of this, and I'm gonna start styling this bad boy. So before we do that, I now remember that I want to use some custom colors in this project, which means I need to extend Tailwind CSS file. So I need to go to the Tailwind config file, and what I need to do is to actually extend the colors and not the file. So I go to the Tailwind config file, and I want extend the colors in here. To be way faster, I'm just gonna copy paste stuff, because we're gonna need these colors. Okay, these are my custom colors for this project. Because I'm dealing with a config file, I better crash the server and run it again. Okay, so we get access to these colors. Cool. That out of the way, we can actually start styling our markup as we want it. And that means in this case I'm actually gonna start by styling the body. I want to give it a class, okay, bg, then I want my custom black. There you go, now it's blackish. Cool. And now I want to create a main div. So this div will hold pretty much the entire content. So I'm going to create this div right here. Okay, this div will hold everything. So I'm going to style it, and I want to create a custom class, which is custom container. Okay. I'm not gonna use this class for styling purposes. You will see it ahead how I'm gonna be using this class. Then I want to use flexbox. I want to set as a flex call to start with, and then on MD onwards I want to set it as a flex row, and I want the height to be a screen. Okay, the full screen height. That's what I did. Cool. So inside this, I'm gonna need 2 more divs. Okay, so inside this custom container, I'm gonna need 2 more divs. So let's set up the markup so we don't mess up. It rhymes. Cool. Okay, this is the way I like to set up my markup, and this one needs to be styled as well. So class, and I want to use width full horizontally. I want the height to be the full screen on LG. I want the width to be only 80%, right? And I want to use flexbox. Flex justify. Come on. Justify center and items center. Cool. So this is one of the 2 divs. So let's continue focusing on that one. Inside that div, I'm gonna get another div. So inside this div, I'm gonna get another div. Okay, and this div, of course, also needs a bit of styling. So I'm gonna get one more time. I want this to have a padding X of 4. Okay, and then inside that div, I'm gonna have a bunch of things, honestly. So I'm gonna start by adding a H1, and this H1 needs to be styled, of course, class. So I want to align it to the left. Well, I mean, it starts align it to the left, then on MD onwards, the text gets aligned in the center. I want to give a padding left of 5, a margin bottom of 5. on MD, I actually want to increase the margin bottom from 5 to 10. And then I want to use the text for Excel size, a bit big. On MD, I want the text to be 5 XL this time. And on LG, so bigger screens, I want the text to be 8 XL, quite big. I want to break my words, so they go to another line when necessary, so I use this class. And I want the font to be bold, and I want the text color to be custom white, my whitish color. Okay, let me see if I have word wrap. I do have, so it's easy for you and for me to read the code. So inside my H1, right, I'm gonna have the following text: translation, jobs, and calculator. Calculator. Okay, this is what I have so far, but I want this calculator word to disappear on larger screens, because on larger screens I will show the image. So what I want to do is to wrap this calculator word inside the span tag. Okay, and this means that I'm gonna style it, and on LG onwards, the breakpoint, I want to make it hidden, because on that breakpoint I will actually show the image. So on smaller screens I do see the word, I keep seeing it, but on bigger screens I do not see it. So that's what I wanted to do. Okay, cool. What else do we need to do? I don't think we need to do anything else for that. Now it's time for us to have a p tag for the pricing information. So I'm just gonna say inside this p tag, I'm just gonna say pricing. It's going to be 10 cents, if I can find the correct, 10 cents per word, legal taxes included. Okay, and of course I need to style this as well, so I'm gonna give it a class of text. I can actually copy paste this because this is going to be the same. Starts in the left and then gets centered in the center on larger screens. So then padding left of 5. I want to use italic this time, and I want to use text custom whitish color, and I want to change the opacity to 50 to make it a tiny bit less visible. Doesn't really matter. Okay, now I need to add another div. Okay, and this div needs to be styled, of course. So class margin top of 6, padding white of 5, and inside this div I'm gonna get like a p. Okay, I'm gonna format my document. Okay, and inside this p I want to type the information. Type or paste your text inside the box, because you are going to create a text area box below this text to count the words and calculate the translation cost. Okay, so of course I want to style this a little bit, so I'm making this harder on me, but doesn't matter. So or paste needs to be wrapped inside the span tag because I want this to stand out a tiny bit. So I'm gonna use italic one more time. Class italic, not like that. Italic, gosh, italic, cool. So this is a bit different, stands out a little bit. That was the goal. So, and then inside that P, I'm gonna get another div. Okay. So inside that P, sorry, not inside that P, what am I saying? Oh my gosh. Inside this div, next, right below this P, I'm gonna get another div. There you go. And I'm gonna style it class with full overflow hidden, padding Y of 5 and flex. Okay. And now in here, I actually want to create my text area elements. So text area, I do not need name or ID for this case. I believe I just need to style it. So actually I'm going to get rid of all of this. I think it's going to be good. And I want to style it with BG slate 100. So very light color. I want the width to be a custom 95% width. I want to align it to the center on bigger screens. I want the custom height for this text area to be 350 pixels. And I'm gonna, the text size is going to be 2XL. And the padding to all sides is going to be 2. And then I'm going to use another class, not for styling, but for other purposes, which is called inputted words. Okay? Cool. So this is coming together, coming along. Text call to action. Let me think. This type, the P. Oh, of course, I didn't style this. I was looking at the screen and seeing that this has the wrong color. So let's continue. Okay, let's just style this paragraph that I was forgetting to style. So class, and this is going to be a padding Y of 4 vertically. Text to be aligned to the left, and then padding left 5, and the text color is going to be call to action. Okay, the font is going to be bold. Okay, and the text size is going to be text 2XL, and I want to break my words, so break words. Exactly, and I want a max width of 80%, custom size, max width of 80%. Boom. So this is now styled. Okay, what else do we need? So I have the div with the text area, cool, and I'm gonna need another div for holding the call to action buttons. So in below that, I'm gonna get another div, and I'm gonna style it right away so I don't forget it. And this div, as I said, is going to hold the two buttons, the calculate cost and the reset button. So I'm gonna use flexbox, so flex call, because I want them to stack on top of each other, but on MD onwards, I want them to go side by side. So for that, I'll use flex row, and I want the padding X of 5. And on MD, I actually want to increase this padding X from 5 to 15. And I always want a margin top of 8. Cool. And this is like the area that we are going to be creating our buttons in. So I'm going to create a button, and I'm going to actually create two buttons right away. Just going to be preparing the markup, just like so. Okay. This is where we are. Cool. first button, which is going to be the most important one. So I'm gonna use cursor pointer. I want to use I'm gonna put it right here, another class for the DOM manipulation, count btn. So it's not for styling. The first class is not for styling reasons, it's for the DOM manipulation. Let's continue. I want this button to take the width full on small screens, but on MD onwards I want the width to change to 70% of the available room. I want a margin bottom of 5, and on bigger screens I want to actually remove my margin bottom. Okay, when it comes to the color, I'm just gonna type something so we see the button. Calculate. Now we see the button here. When it comes to the background color, I'm going to use BG custom. Oh gosh, not like that. BG custom green, and we start to see the button now. And the text color for this button is going to be custom black. Cool. I want the font to be bold, and I want to give it a round corners, so I'm gonna say rounded full, margin right of 10, and I want a padding X of 32. You can play with these numbers, of course, these utility classes I mean. And I want the text to be in uppercase, and on other, just on other, I want to change the opacity to 80. So it's slightly different. And uppercase didn't work. Why is that? Okay, now it's working. All the classes are getting applied. Cool. So I'm gonna actually just format the document to make it look a little bit better and nicer. So let's work on the second button. This is going to be the reset button. So I'm gonna start by giving it an ID for DOM purposes, and I'm calling this reset.btn. And then let's style this bad boy, and cursor pointer, the usual, because we want to show the user that it can be pressed. So, and then I want to set the width to be full on small screens, but on MD onwards I want to set the width to be just 30%. So 70 plus 30 makes 100%, of course. And then I want to style it a bit. I want to give it a border, and this border color is going to be custom white, so whitish. And I need to give, like, I actually need to reset so we see it. There we go. So we see the button, and the text color for this is going to be custom white, so text custom whitish color. I want to give a padding, horizontal padding of 20, a vertical padding of just 2. I want to uppercase this text. Again, I want it to be rounded full, rounded. Oh, come on. Okay, rounded full, whatever, rounded full. And on other, just on other, I want to give a border red 400. And I also on other want to, because we are using a border white, on other I want to change the border color to be red, and I also want to change the background color. So on over, I'm gonna give BG red 400. Still on over, I want to change the text color to be custom white. I don't need because I already have that, right? So, and I want to give a delay of 150 to give it a bit. Let me see. Oh, there you go. Nice. So looks like we have most of the UI. So on smaller screens, we do not get the calculator image, we get the word. But on larger screens, we lose the calculator word on larger screens from this breakpoint on, and we want to add the image here and give a little bit of animation to it. So the UI, it's almost done. In terms of the UI and markup, we are almost done. So what else do we need? So below this button, we need another div. So we get the button, we close this div. We can actually close this div. And there's another div, so I'm a bit lost. So let me see. I think I have that set up already. So, okay, so I have this div that contains, I think, yeah, so this is the div that I had set up earlier, and this is where we need to add our button. Let me see if I'm not messing up with the markup. I think I'm not. If I am, we'll see it. So I'm gonna actually style this div, and this div, it's gonna start as hidden because we do not want to display this content unless the screen size is big enough, which means LG breakpoint. When I set it to be flex, the width to be full, and on LG breakpoint, I want the width of this column, this div, to be 20% only. And I want to use flexbox, and I'm gonna say justify center and items center. I want to give a custom BG color of slate 600, and inside the div, now it's time to bring up our image, and this image is coming from from images, and it's the only image that we have. Alt, I'm gonna call just calculator, and I'm gonna format my document, and let's see what we have so far. So we see nothing on small screens as expected, but as you can see, when we hit this breakpoint, we lose the calculator word and we see the image. So looks cool. So I think the markup is pretty much done. It's just time for us to add the little animation to it by adding a bunch of classes to the image, and we are good to go, because if we notice, I refresh and I wait and nothing happens to that image. So let's fix that. Not fix, but let's add those classes. To be faster, I'm actually just gonna copy paste all of these classes, boom, and I'm gonna refresh the page and see if this is working or not. And looks like it is working. See, it waits a little bit and then the image kind of jumps twice to show, like to show a little animation. This is it. So I believe the markup is all done. The next thing that we need to do is to create the logic to make this work, because if I copy and click here, nothing happens. Nothing happens, of course. So the markup is done. The last thing in this project is for us to add the JavaScript functionality to make all of this work. Okay, so I don't forget, let's push this markup into GitHub. Okay, I'm gonna click here. I'm gonna actually select all of these changes and I'm gonna say add markup, and I'm gonna click commit and push. And we can check here, we can go here, I had one commit. Let's see if I refresh, I now have 3 commits and we can see them all. So we initialize it, we created the package.json file, we set up the project, we added the markup, and let's continue. Finally, it's time for us to add the logic to make all of this work. So what we want to do in terms of logic is to basically use DOM to grab a few elements, and then we want to count how many words are inside this box, and we also want to calculate the cost for a given translation. Okay, and we also want to add the functionality to the reset button that is just going to reload the page, and that means everything will go to 0, so we'll lose all the content, and that's the point. So you type something, blah 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 blah, you click reset, the page reloads, and this gets blank, and you can continue from scratch. So let's start by doing this bit by bit. So what we have to do now is to go to our main.js file that we had created earlier. So we can work like this because we are adding functionality. The UI is done, so we can go in here. To be a bit faster, I'm just gonna copy paste a bit of code that is just us using DOM to grab elements. And as you can see, we use this custom container class among others like inputted words. I'm going to show you that in the markup. So I can do this exactly. And if I go here, I'm going to open this. So if we check custom container, this is the class that we use it in here. Not for styling, but for DOM manipulation purposes. We also added the inputted words to the text area. Where is text area? If I can find it, funny enough, there you go, text area, and we have this class, inputted words, and so on and so off. So basically all of these classes that I'm grabbing inside my JavaScript file are actually coming from my markup, but I use these classes in this ID. In this case I use a different method. I use the ID to grab the display price, which is something that I actually forgot to do, looks like. Did I forget to do this? Okay, looks like I did. So let me have a quick look. Yep, silly me, I forgot to add like another div here below the buttons where we will display the number of words detected and the cost for this translation job. Yeah, this is why you should review your code, and this happens, okay? So no worries, let's do that. So right below this div where we have the buttons, we want to create another div, okay? Yeah, earlier I was confused and I thought I was forgetting something, then I thought I wasn't, but I was actually forgetting something. But this happens, no worries, let's just fix this. So this class is going to be padding y of 5 for this div. I want the text to always be in the center, and I want to use the color of text custom white. Okay, and then inside here we are gonna need to have 2 p tags. So let's add them really quickly. Boom, and let's just format the document. And inside the first one, I want to style it. So I'm gonna say class, and I'm gonna say words detected, and this is actually one of the classes that I was just mentioning, because if we go here, we have words detected, as you can see. Okay, so these classes are custom classes that we are using for our DOM manipulation to grab the elements. Okay, so and I also now, for styling reasons, I want to add text to Excel and margin top of 1. Okay, and I want to type inside this piece something like number of words detected, number of words detected, and then I'm gonna get a span tag, and I'm gonna start this as a 0. Of course, now we see it, because initially we have no words detected because no one typed or pasted anything inside our box. Cool, but I just need to style this span a tiny bit. Let me just scroll so you see it. So this span, I'm gonna style it, and text custom green, and the text is going to be 3XL, quite big, 3XL. Boom, cool. Yeah, if this markup is a bit confusing for you, no worries, because as you know, I am pushing all the code to GitHub, so you will have access to this. Okay, no worries. Okay, we now need the other P that I later realized that I was missing, and this is the P that we will display the cost for the translation. So first we count how many words, then we multiply that by 10 cents, and we get that result. So this P needs the ID that I was just mentioning to you when I found out that I was forgetting something, which is display price. This is the ID. Needs to be a perfect match, of course, and then I'm gonna, with the help of DOM, I'm gonna display content inside this P. Okay, this is going to be blank. I'm gonna just use a class, and I'm gonna style margin top to 5, text to be custom green color, and text to be 3XL. And I can actually add a comment in here. Oh, come on. Yeah, not so familiar with HTML comments anymore. And I'm gonna just type DOM, so you know that this is going to be done with the help of DOM. So we'll be displaying something in here. I'm gonna just type DDD so you see it, but I'm not hard coding anything. We'll use DOM to display the result in here. So I think now it's fair to say that our markup was updated. So let's just commit this, and I'm gonna just grab them all and say markup update, and I'm gonna say commit and push, and I'm gonna check my commits. I'm gonna refresh markup update. So we added the markup, then we updated the markup. Now we can really go back and build the logic that we were trying to do. Okay, so let's continue this. Okay, let's start with the easy stuff first. So all I want to do is to type something in here, and when I click this reset button, this gets blank, because we will make the page reload when this button gets clicked. It's not working, of course. So that's the goal. So for that, the first thing that we need to do is to add a comment, reset btn, okay? And not rest, it's reset. I need some rest. Okay. For that, we need to create a const that I'm gonna call reset page, and this is going to be an arrow function, and all of this function does is to reload the page by using location dot reload method. Okay, this is all it does. Okay, so for this to work, we need to grab this button, this reset button, by using, where is the reset button? We have the reset button ID. So we need to grab this button by its ID, and then we need to add a event, which is a click event, and then when the button gets clicked, we run this function. For that, we are going to do const reset btn, so reset button. That's good enough. And I'm gonna say document dot get element by ID. So this is a bit of basic DOM manipulation, and the ID was reset button, right? And I want to then add an event listener. And what type of event is this? It's a click event, and when this button gets clicked, I want to run this function. And I already made a mistake. Let me just copy and put it here. Let's test this to see if it works. I'm gonna refresh the page. I'm gonna type something in here, and when I click this button, yeah, it works. See? I'm gonna type something in here. I click the button, the page gets reloaded, and this gets blank. Cool. So the reset button is done. And because we know that the reset button works, it's time to push that bit of code into GitHub. So let's click in here and let's say add reset button logic. I'm gonna click commit and push, and we should see it right here. Add reset button. Cool. Logic. Cool. So let's continue this logic part. Now it's time for us to see and count how many words are inside this box and to calculate the cost, okay, by multiplying that amount of words by the 10 cents. Okay, so let's start doing that. So the first thing is, so we don't forget, let's right away create a cost for this translation cost, this price per word. So I'm gonna call price per word in euros, and I'm gonna set this to 0.10, which is 10 cents. And okay, comment, calculate, not calculate, so I want to count words and calculate cost. That's what we are doing, okay? So for that, we're gonna need, of course, the help of custom functions. So I'm gonna start with like a parent function, which is going to be the count words. So count words, it's going to be an arrow function, and this function will hold a lot of logic and will also hold the function that will perform the cost calculation, okay? So we do not forget count btn is here, and we want to display on a click event, so count btn. So if we go and check the btns, we are using for this button, for the calculate button, we are adding this custom class, which is the count btn, which we are grabbing here using D.O.M. So so I don't forget, I'm gonna add right away the event listener for this, because this function is going to be quite long and I do not want to forget to add this, otherwise it will not work. It's going to be again a click event, and then when that button gets clicked, I want to run this function right here, okay? So now we are going to be working inside this. I think we don't need to do anything else outside. If I'm forgetting something, I will go back to it. So let's focus. So now we have all of these variables that we are saving by grabbing the elements using DOM, and we have the const words, sorry, the const words text area, count btn, word count, all of that is coming from our DOM stuff, right? So now I want to set a few other variables before we start. So I'm gonna set let words to be equal to words text area. So this dot value. So whatever dot value. So whatever value is inside this. Okay. Then I want to trim my words. So I need to do a little bit of trimming. I'm not gonna go and explain this. I'm just gonna copy paste this. You can explore this on your own. This is something that could be explained in a single video. And then I want to actually split my trimmed words. So I'm using these replace and split methods, JavaScript methods. I'm not gonna cover this. You have access to the code. You can explore this on your own. So now I need to check if the split words, the length, all of that. So I'm actually going to copy a bit of code here. Okay. And whatever is the result of that number of words, I want that to be passed using DOM. So I'm going to grab my word count right here. Okay. And I'm going to say inner HTML, and I want this inner HTML to be set to the number of words that I'm getting here. Okay, not too bad. And now let me see if this is actually working. I can go maybe. Let me see if I can console.log split words. This is what I want to grab and console log. And let me see if this is even working. So hello there. Boom, and we got 2 words. Cool. So we are grabbing the words and putting the words inside an array. Okay, so and we get the index. The first word is index 0 and the second word index 1. All good. Looks like this is working. So I can actually just remove this for now. Now that we know how many words we are getting from the user input when the user goes and copy and paste something inside the text area, and this is a text area that you can actually play with it, we can enlarge, okay, make it bigger or smaller. We can now start calculating the cost because we already know how many words we have, and we also have defined the cost per word, which is 10 cents in euros. So we can actually start calculating that. So right after this, still inside this, sorry, I'm lost. Still inside, okay, still inside this parent main function, I'm gonna start calculating the cost because now I want to multiply these 2 words or whatever amount of words by 10 cents each. So I'm gonna say calculate the cost of this translation. Okay, and I need to start this as a 0 like we have it here, but this one is if I go here, it's hard coded. Okay, and I want to start that variable. So I'm actually going to say let cost in euros, looks fine. Cost in euros, because we are dealing with euros. It's going to start, we are going to initialize this variable as 0, of course. And then we need to create another function, which I'm going to call calculate cost, and this is again going to be an arrow function as usual, of course, right? And I want to create another variable, because what I want to do is actually multiply the number of words, whatever number of words I got, and I want to multiply it by what? By the price per word in euros, of course. Okay, and I need to save this inside a variable, which I'm gonna call calculated costs in euro. Calculated cost in euros, I guess. So now the number of words that I got from here multiplied by the individual price per word is going to give me the calculated cost in euros, which means I can grab my cost in euros, let me think, cost in euros, I'm actually a bit lost. I'm a bit tired, sorry for that. Cost in euros, yeah, I can define that. Okay, what I can do is I can say cost in euros plus equal to this, and I can do this and do that, cost in euros. There we go. So I'm updating this to be whatever is the result of my calculation. So I can say calculation. Okay, so I'm updating the variable to be whatever the result of my calculation, right? Makes sense. But this is a function, and notice that we are not calling this function. So for this to work, we actually need to call this function, otherwise it will not work. So we need to invoke the function. I think this is how it's called. And we need to use an if-else statement to check if the cost is 0, and if the cost is 0, you do something. If it's something else, you do something else. So what I want to do is to do if statement block, and if the cost in euros is 0, right? What do you want to do? I want to grab my display price, which is this P, right? That is not visible yet, using D.O.M, and display price is defined here. So I can grab this display price. If the cost is 0, if there's no cost, if no one typed anything, I want the inner text this time, not HTML, the inner text to be set to an empty string, okay? Else, if someone typed something, the number of words were detected, and the calculation was performed, I want to grab this again, but instead of a blank string, I want to say cost is equal to my cost in euros, whatever the cost is. I want to round this to 2 digits, to decimal places only, so I use another method called fix it, and I pass the number 2, right? Plus, and again I need to use this. I'm not really sure if this is gonna work, to be honest. Hopefully it will. So let's test this. So if I just say hello from JS side, boom, I hope to see 4 words and 40 cents of cost, if that makes sense to you. And I do see it, 4 words and 40 cents cost. So done by us. So I'm adding 3 more words. So I hope to see 7 and 70 cents. I'm gonna click press calculate, and it does work. So this is all we need to do. So to finish this project, and as you can see, the UI is done, right? And I can remove this and just add 2 words, and we see the animation going on. Click here, and this is definitely working. So now I can and should push the code. And I can go here and say add final logic, and I'm gonna say commit and push. Cool, and we should get the last commit. So as you can see, if we go to my profile page, you can see look for my public repositories, and there's 2. And if you click here translations calculator, you now get access to everything. Okay, so this is super cool, and you can click in that icon and see all of the commits and see the individual code for all of this. Sorry for this project, it was a bit long, but to be fair, I'm not used to think about all of these GitHub steps, and I'm not used to plain HTML, CSS, and JavaScript anymore, so that made me a bit slower in terms of thinking and then coding and then translating from Portuguese to English. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I am sure that if you enjoy it, you will retribute to me by leaving a comment, giving this video a like, or even considering subscribing to my channel. So this was it for today, and I will see you guys on the next video. Bye!